Welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. Today, our host, Coach Preston Peterson, interviews a high school strength coach who is creating a big time strength conditioning experience for their student athletes. Today's episode is sponsored by TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr provides strength conditioning software to athletics programs around the country. Whether you write your own programs or want access to over 100 templates, TeamBuildr can make your program more efficient, more accountable, and smarter when it comes to measuring your team's effort in the weight room. Visit their website and start a 14-day free trial at teambuildr.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another week of the Big Time Strength Podcast. This week, I had the opportunity to interview Coach Jay Dahl of Waukee High School in Waukee, Iowa. Coach has been there since 2012, but has been coaching since 1993. In this episode, we talk about the culture that Coach has helped build at Waukee, what it looks like to be a student athlete in his program, what his favorite resources are for the weight room, some challenges that Coach is trying to overcome, and much more. Coach has a wealth of experience and is invested in many student athletes and other coaches. I hope you enjoy the show, and I encourage you to reach out to Coach if you have any questions. Coach Dahl, it's awesome to have you on the show. Good to catch up. I want to open up the podcast asking you about your background, where you've been, where you're headed, kind of your situation right now.
Right now, well, where I've been, I'll go with where I've been. Right now I'm at Waukee High School, but I'll start back in the old days. I went to Minnesota State University. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I loved activity, loved sports. Started in the athletic training department. There was a waiting list for the number of kids that could get in the program at the time. It was going to be a long wait, so I transferred over to physical education. They didn't have a strength and exercise science at the time. There was no such thing. I wish there was, but back in the day, there wasn't. So got a major in physical education, loved coaching, got a job teaching and coaching at Aurelia High School way out in western Iowa for a year. Then I transferred over to Collins-Maxwell. Did some coaching and teaching there, and I ended up at Boone, Iowa for 12 years. Did teaching and coaching there in PE and strength and conditioning, and I'm planted at Waukee here. Been here 7 years. I think I've been teaching for close to, I think it's 23rd year. It might be 24th. I'm not sure. But somewhere in there. So that's kind of the short, abbreviated path where I'm at.
There you go. 23, 24 years, somewhere in there that you've been investing in student athletes. And one of the things that along the way, you start to identify things that you hold as your core values and things that you want to instill within your athletes. What does that look like for your athletes there at Waukee?
Well, we just, like everybody else, want to motivate them to exceed their expectations. We want kids to exceed what they think they can do. And, we want to train them with up-to-date techniques and practices, which, we still do stuff they did 50 years ago, which is still a great practice because it works. But we want to be up-to-date with it, as far as reps and sets and the scheme we're trying to do. Just trying to educate the athletes why they're doing a certain exercises or a certain part of the strength training that we're doing, and, the nutrition part and all that goes with it and stuff like that. And just trying to make them, year-round, better person, better athlete through what they're doing, and basically try and do no harm to them, but make them better. That's always a tough point because sometimes they want to harm themselves as far as doing too much. But that's kind of our mission statement at Waukee here.
It's pretty cool when a coach can sit down and say, over this amount of time, these are the things that we value, and along with that, culture starts to arise, and what that looks like is different at every place that you go. What would you describe the culture of Waukee strength and conditioning?
I'd say it's a good culture. When I came, it was a good culture. It's we've improved the room quite a bit. We've made it. Obviously, we're growing quite a bit each year. We've made some big improvements with the help of the AD, the Booster Club, and the Power Lift. Just making the room more workable, shall I say, for a number of kids that we have in the rooms throughout the day. Just trying to get some upgrades to help them, develop the way we want them to, and just trying to help them, exceed their expectations in the room. making an atmosphere in the room that they can help their teammates become leaders themselves by leading their teammates and their team in the room. And maybe, maybe there's a sophomore in there. That doesn't mean they can't be a leader. Maybe there's a junior who turns out to be a good leader by leading the sophomores or leading the seniors in this group. It's just trying to make a great atmosphere.
But coach would come in and see your weight room. What would be something that they see?
Okay, well, our cultures, it's pretty good. Most kids, for the most part, I'd say 95% of them are working pretty hard on task. They know what's expected when they walk in the room. We're always on a timer. We're always going. We're always, if we stop the timer, we're going over what we need to be doing, what the next exercise is. If it's a new exercise for the program or for the phase, we'll go through and then we're back on track, back to what we're doing. Once in a while you got to remind kids why we're in there. Keep them on task. I don't like kids, we like to have people in certain spots at one time. We kind of set it up so they're all at their rack. We have, we made some great improvements here with the help of the AD and the Booster Club and Power Lift to allow us to have 28 working racks in the room. So kids don't have to travel far. My experience is when kids have to travel, they get kind of sidetracked sometimes. So the more they can stay in the rack, the better we can stay focused on task and get going. Because they're only going to be in there for 45 minutes to an hour, at the most. And if we can get the work set up, yes, they're going to have some rest time, but in that rest time, we're usually doing mobility or some other type of work. So they really don't have a lot of, shall we say, talk time, as we put it that way, but they're always busy trying to better themselves through whatever it is, hip flexor stretch or whatever on their off time between spotting their partner or their go time.
You talk a lot about efficiency then. So you're on a timer, you guys have stations set up so that students can move and they know what they're doing at certain times. Do you feel like the way that you have it set up is going to be like ideal, or are there things that you change? What are some of the things that you see within the room that, just like, man, this is working well, or maybe something that needs improved?
Yeah, there's always things you can change. You put out a new program, you try something different. Maybe it doesn't go the way you want it to the first time. Then you look at it and say, is that part of me putting that in the program didn't work, or did I think it didn't work, or the kids didn't think it didn't work, or was it kind of bunched up and kids were kind of lost? Was it me not explaining it well enough? So usually I'll give it a couple tries and see how it works out. Because usually it's just the kids aren't used to doing what they need to do at that time because I didn't explain it well enough, or they just haven't done it. I mean, it might be the first time, so, it's going to take a little bit longer to get through it. So then by the third time, if it flows well, otherwise we probably have to rework it somehow in our program so it flows a little bit better. We have pretty good space so kids can move back and forth, and there's always things you want to improve your weight room. Yeah, we could use a few more things and instill some more tools in our toolbox. We got a lot of tools, but we could always use more. I always tell the AD, joke around. I'm an idea guy, and there's a list, and you could always use more, but we got plenty. And I remember back the days when I had a universal machine at a couple schools, and we had that and 2 benches, and that's what you're working with. So yeah, we have a great room, and it flows pretty well. But yeah, back to the question, you always got to kind of see how it works the first time, second time, third time, and then go from there and readjust if you need to.
So you mentioned that you guys have 28 racks. What's it look like within your classroom? How many kids are in it? How many kids do you have in a class size? So like the class of 2019 this year, how many kids are in that class, and what's your day structured like at Waukee?
That's tough, and I'm not sure exact number of the senior class, but I know it's probably 6 something. I know there's 21, close to 21 in 10 through 12 building. Basically, my class is advanced strength training, and I also do teach some intro strength training during the day. We have 4-block day, so they're 90-minute periods, which is awesome because we can get a lot done. And then there's also an intro class. There's usually 2 classes in there at once, and both classes usually have anywhere from 30 to the high 40s in a class. So, there could be close to 100 kids in there at one time. Let's see, I'm trying to think of the question. during the day, the normal day would be like block 1. I might have 40 some kids, and intro class might have 40 some kids. We warm up in the gymnasium together. We do what's called a mobility circuit. We do 10 to 15 different stations of mobility work, and we have some apparatuses. We use ropes, Indian clubs, med balls. We have some slide boards, so we get some implements in their hands too. They seem to enjoy that more. And then we do the basic mobility work too, wall slides and stuff like that. And then we travel to the weight room, and our warm-up's done in the gymnasium, so we really don't do a warm-up. We do a little bit of core before we start maybe. And some days we might do some quick med ball work or plyometrics, but then we'll start a lift and do a complex together. My class we'll do a complex together, barbell, either a clean or a snatch complex, and then we'll start our Olympic lift, and then we'll go into our other lifts, and we usually wrap up with some simpler stuff training-wise as far as tier training stuff. So that's kind of it, and then they go shower. The intro class is usually kind of going over and a lot more demonstration and talking of what the exercises are and going through them and how to set up the bench and how to set the rack up for everything that you're doing. Like that lift, whatever that lift is, maybe it's the first time they've done an incline bench press, they go over how to set the bench up, how to spot, how to do the exercise, breathe and everything. So that's kind of the intro class. That's kind of how that's geared.
You mentioned a little bit about how you guys program. Can you go into a little bit more depth of what your program looks like? And you mentioned before the show your terms, how you have 45-day chunks that you'll be with those athletes. How do you program that out?
Well, for the class, in the fall here we have a lot of football kids in the class, so they do a 3 days lift. On Fridays they kind of do a pregame. I do some light bar work, and then they'll go do some mobility stuff and some hand-eye coordination and a little bit of agility, and then that's the guys that are playing that day. On the 3-day lift, it's mostly a modified tier. I use Michael Boyle stuff a lot and Verstegen stuff a lot, exos, and during the season. So it's not too intense. We try and keep towards lower reps and higher weight, and try and make crisp and clean movements. Younger kids that are in the class that are in football, I might have some sophomores in softball football. They might actually do a few more reps and sets just because they're sophomores and they're still kind of filling out a little bit. The biggest thing just try and get them a little bit stronger and do no harm to them in the weight room there during the season. So, they get beat up a little bit on Friday nights and they get recovery a little bit, trying to help them recover a little bit too. So that's kind of how we work the fall. In the winter time, after 45 days, like they're going to be done in 5 days, and they may still be playing in the playoffs, hopefully. And, so they'll have to come in before school with the football team. But then we'll have a new block of kids, and some of those kids might be in football, so we'll just kind of continue that path until they're done. And then the other kids coming in, I have to survey, are they in basketball, are they going to be in wrestling? So we might have like 5 different groups in each class, like especially in the winter and spring. Spring gets crazy because you got kids in many different sports, soccer, baseball, track, so you might have 3 different sports. Pretty much it's basically the same workout, but we do modify it a little bit for each sport and what time of year they're at.
The thing that I think about is you have so many kids coming in. There might be 5 different programs going on at one time. What are some of the resources or tools, software, anything like that you guys optimize for training?
Well, we're fortunate enough to get Team Builder last year. We started using Team Builder in the fall. And, I love Excel. I love doing Excel. I love all the stuff you can do with it. And I'm an old paper guy. I love it. But Team Builder saves so much time. And before you'd have to print sheets, and we don't have a printer in the PE office to print all those sheets because it just takes so much. So we'd have to run them down the copy shop. So, if you're making different, it's a lot of running to the copy shop and back. Team Builder, it's so much easier to do that. You can just do it right there, and I can go over to the computer right during class if somebody's on, needs needs to change up, or they can opt out because they got an injury. We just opt them out and put them on a different exercise for that time. Yeah, it works great. And Hewitt's great to work with a team builder. I call them and go on their videos and watch and learn. I'm still learning, still learning how to use it a little bit better. Trying to put a nutrition worksheet on there, and trying to put just kind of a little quiz to take beforehand. Right now we monitor their sleep and body weight every day, but there's a lot more things we can do with it. Just got to get it on there and have the kids do it maybe once a week.
It's great when you can have something that will greatly improve your efficiency. I always think about when coaches talk about maybe their favorite resources or tools, any of those type of things. When you're finding ways to find more hours in the day, when you're able to become more efficient, it allows you to be a better coach, right? Now you can take time to learn more, to dive into other stuff and look what's going on out there in the strength and conditioning world right now. And I think that's probably got to be one of the benefits that you see, right?
Yeah, and one of the greatest benefits. I mean, there's Trainer Rogue, there's Platform now, and there's Exos has theirs. There's a bunch of them, and they're all great. They all have their different rack time. They're all great, and they all have their different little trends that are going on. But they're all they keep adding. They keep adding to each other. Team Builders keeps adding stuff because I'm sure the other ones keep adding stuff. So it's great, and it lets you run reports before you as you had to punch in the numbers and run the graph yourself for the kid. Now you just run a report on the kid for all year long. How many days have been your attendance report, or you can run a max report. You can see what your training looks like in a linear progression. When we're dipping, when we're up, when we're dipping, you can explain to the kid, here we go, here we're climbing, here we went down, here we climb, here we go down on this chart with the weights, and then they kind of get the idea of linear periodization a little bit more. Also, we have a great program here called Apex. It's a Aspiring Professional Experience program for kids. It's a standalone building, and any kid can sign up, take a class, and they have an exercise science part to that. So right now we have some kids working on updating our video library because I'm in a lot of the older videos, and nobody wants to see me doing stuff. So they're doing the videos so we can have those on Team Builder, so the kids can see actual Waukee kids demonstrating. I think that's huge. Right now we have a lot of Waukee kids on there demonstrating, but some of it's outside on YouTube too, videos from YouTube. So, and they're doing a better job on the videos. They're breaking them down and putting some text in there and stuff too. So when a kid has to remember, like intro class, what lift was that? What is that? It shows them right there. They can watch the video, tells them how to set stuff up for it and everything. So that's awesome also.
No doubt. I think that's great. You talked about having 28 racks, and you said thank you to your athletic director, and you also said something about boosters, and I just want to know some of the ways that you're acquiring some of the additional funding for your department so you can make those updates, so that you can get the software that you want in the weight room. What are some of the things that you guys are doing to maybe raise those extra funds?
Well, back in the day at the other schools, we had lift-a-thons and all that other stuff. And, I was a picker before it was cool, before it was on TV. I'd go to auctions or whatever, buy chains there, or go to garage sales and you can find an ab wheel about every garage sale, every other at least, one of the old ab wheels or ab rollers. It's amazing what you can find if you look, or straps from wherever. And then we took a buddy and myself when I was at Boone. We took a pickup over to a frat house in Iowa State, because Boone's pretty close to Ames there, and we loaded up the back of the school truck with, it was full of dumbbells, so there's a lot of weight back there, and we barely had any steering on the way home because the wheels were up in the air. But that's the kind of stuff you got to do. Everybody wants weight equipment. Nobody wants to go pick up used stuff, and used works. If you can get over the new part, and used works just as well a lot of the times. So that's the way to do it if you're looking for cheaper equipment. We've picked a lot of stuff, went over to North Scott and picked some of Tony's racks when he got new ones in his old weight room. So, it's just finding stuff a lot of the times. Gov Deals is a great resource, public surplus. Here at Waukee, we were fortunate enough, and Chad Volbeck is the other strength coach, one of the strength coaches, and he does a great job. He's a great communicator, teaches English during the day. So I kind of told him what we should put on the grant, and he worked well with it, and he wrote it all up and turned it in. And we have a foundation here called the Waukee Community Schools Foundation, and they accepted the grant and give us, some money for the iPads and the holders, and the other half came from the school itself. The principal put some money towards, and the athletic booster club also put some money towards that, because they kind of see that the room's going to be a pretty popular place, and they see the results. So I think they they can back up where they put the money. It's a good place to put the money. So
it's really cool when other areas of the school, other people around the community start to see the value within strength and conditioning, and yes, you see it on the athletic fields or courts or tracks, whatever it is, but more so, when people want to be in there. I think that's such a cool deal. One of the things that we do every show is we try to figure out a unique way that you're making the big time where you're at. And my assumption, when you have people that want to be in the room like they do at Waukee, you guys are doing some big time stuff. What would you say is setting you apart as being a big time coach at Waukee?
Well, we have a lot of great coaches in the school itself, and and we have a lot of great athletes and great coaches, and that's a great combination. And then, we just try and communicate with the coaches and figure out what works for them and work with them to, nothing's really different. Everything's pretty much the same. Kids just need to get stronger and be able to move better. So, we're just trying to work with our coaches and trying to get kids to be consistently in the weight room. That's the biggest deal. I think if you show up all year long, you're going to have some bad days, good days, and hopefully most of them are better days, good days. There's some days kids are coming in, they've been up playing Fortnite or whatever for all night long, 2 hours sleep, nothing to eat, but they're there consistent. Just keep them coming all year long. You're going to see gains. They're high school kids. They're going to see gains. And just working with the coaches, trying to keep them on schedule where the coaches can say, all right, here's our schedule. We're going at this time. So we make a yearly plan with each sport. And then we put out a term schedule, like the fall. This is the time sophomore football is coming in. This is the time varsity football is coming in. This time varsity volleyball comes in. This time ninth grade volleyball. This time sophomore volleyball. So we got it all scheduled out of season kids. And you have a lot of baseball kids doing baseball, so we work with them and do 3 days a week. They can do 4 if they want, and you just understand that kids are out there doing AAU sports. They're always going to be busy. So you got to kind of work with the kids too, and know that kids running up and down the court playing AAU basketball nonstop. So maybe 3 times a week is fine. He doesn't need to be in the 4th, or just talk to the coaches, and the coaches understand that that they're doing other things too, because they have to have the skill to be successful also. But
I've seen that a lot too, man. It's like we've got a good chunk of athletes at Mount Vernon right now that it's a big time in their season for soccer. It's not a school related, it's club sport stuff. And there's a lot of things that we have to program around that, and, the different periods of time for basketball or for fall ball, for baseball or softball, those type of things. And it's interesting to see just that culture along with it. And we still want our athletes to be able to perform at the best that they can. And it adds one more dynamic to how we program, what we look at. And I'm happy that you guys, working with so many people, you're still finding those ways to get those athletes what they need at the right times.
I'm from a small school, so I'm used to, every kid playing every sport, and I like to see kids playing as many sports as they possibly can. I think that's great. That's awesome. But we still, and we're still trying to get those kids in the weight room too, in season, twice a week or 3 times a week. And, that's the best thing they can do. But, if they're not going to, then we still need to try and keep them in the weight room all year long also. So
I think that's my background too, right? You're speaking to me right there. Is the multi-sport athlete is such a cool deal, and so we have the opportunity at Mount Vernon where a lot of our kids, they will play, 3 sports. We've got a few 4-sporters where they can be a part of each one of those teams. And some of the kids are successful in every single one of them, which is awesome. And it's the level that they're playing at, and they play at a high level for each one of the things that they do. And it's fun to see. But it is it is one more challenge or one more hurdle to see, okay, how are we going to progress this kid when they're in ninth grade all the way till when they're a senior, and what's that look like? So I guess that's one of my challenges. What's one of the biggest hurdles that you have at Waukee? What's one of the things that you struggle with and you're looking to overcome each day?
Probably putting a kid that hasn't been in for a while, putting them back into a just a general preparedness workout to get him going before he joins this group that's already like their third or fourth weekend. Or you have so many groups in there sometimes, and our training's it's not rocket science. It's pretty basic. It's the same stuff, but it's just a little simpler. Like our ninth graders coming in, they're doing our middle school kids. We have a couple middle school camps during the winter, and we'll have some ninth graders come in and some eighth graders come in from the building right next to us, or we have two middle schools. One's right next to us, and one's down farther, and some of those kids still come in from there. So it's like the middle school camps, we do body weight stuff, kind of some block zero stuff. Then they'll get to some simple barbell stuff and goblet stuff. And the ninth graders, I'll have them on what I call, we kind of split it up into a purple program, or somebody hasn't doesn't have much lifting experience. We'll put them on a purple program, since our colors are purple and gold here. And then we'll call what we call a silver program. It's a little more bar stuff, a little more traditional stuff. And then most of the 10th and 12th graders will have kind of on a silver or a gold program throughout the year. Those are just kind of the names. So they kind of understand where they're at probably by that. When I say, well, you're going to be on the purple program for a while here, and we'll watch you. And when you can, understand, your body understands the movements, and you look like you're ready to progress, we'll move you up to the gray or the silver and go from there.
So there's not like particular standards that those athletes are meeting. They're not like written in stone, but you can tell when an athlete is ready to move on. Is that kind of how you're setting it up?
Yeah. We don't have, there's no, you have to hit this many before you can do the next workout. It's like, does your body understand the movement? Do you look good doing it? Then let's move you up a little bit. If they're ninth graders, they're mostly staying on the purple program, and in the purple program, I'll switch it around. So, they do see a little bar work, and they're getting familiar with what we want them to do in 10th and 12th grade. And then we'll transition back into a lot of dumbbell and kettlebell stuff, and then we'll transition back. So they kind of ebb and flow through it. But the 10th and 12th graders, the kids that have been there 4 years, we're gonna try and get them ready for the next level, if that's their next step, or if they want to keep working out after high school, so they can figure out how to write a program and how to go to the gym and do their own workout without having to hire somebody. So that's kind of, and some of the kids that have been there for a long time, if they're done with their sports and they've been in there for 3 or 4 years, I might give them a little carrot and put them on a workout that, not a lot of kids get to do. Do something a little bit different because they've worked their way up to it.
For me, like, I keep on trying to figure out, the best way to put together these block or level systems, or whatever coaches are referring to them as. And I really like that idea of being able to see the athlete, how they're moving, and then say, okay, you can progress from there. Because, that's our job as a coach, is to evaluate, and a strength standard might be good for some people. And I'm just really trying to sort through that. So it's good to hear how you guys do it, kind of your perspective. And I also like, being able to progress like that and kids see that they're improving. It's one more way to know that they're getting better. And, for me, that just is so much good comes from that, so much motivation. And you just see when people have more confidence.
They're confident about what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get a freshman or sophomore in there, and, they've never done any hangs or power cleans or snatches or anything like that. We hang snatch, we hang clean, and the older kids, some of them will let go from the floor, and the true clean and true snatch and clean and jerk. But our basic thing is, you can kind of tell when they get the fun thing to watch when they get a hang snatch, when they get it figured out. It's fun to watch them because they really enjoy doing it. I mean, I like doing it myself too, but that's not the reason I'm doing it. But when they get it figured out, and some kids, they always struggle with it. And they always do, and it's not a lot, but so then it's like, well, maybe we're just going to jump shrug you then. We're going to do some high pulls, and let's do some other things, because you're always struggling with this. Maybe it's because you have, your flexion or your shoulders always hurt, or, let's progress to something else. But it's fun watching kids overcome what they've previously done. Like in my class right now, I have a bunch of football kids, and I don't usually let kids go on their own on time. Just I like to be in control. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe I should let kids have more control. Maybe they do better. I don't know. But this group, we'll have a timer going. We'll have 2 timers on the TV, and I'll say, all right, you need to get 2 minutes and 40 seconds of rest with all the other stuff in between that they need to do. So when you get done, check the clock, and then that's when you start again. That's when you start the next set. And usually I'm in charge of that, but this group, most days they're doing pretty good on that, and that's that's where we want to get them so they can do it on their own. And then when we go to like the lower tier, the tier 1 list, maybe they're pairing a press with a leg curl or something like that on a stability ball. They understand that, hey, I'm going to take 90 seconds after I get down and look at the clock. 90 seconds later, I'm going to start my leg curl. I got to spot my partner. I got a few mobility things in between, but then I'm going. So I kind of walk around and ask them their time, and they got to the point where kids knew their time and they're on task by themselves, and that's kind of what we're looking for. Is they know how to do it, they take pride in doing it, and they want to do it. So it's kind of been the first year I've kind of let that go. Usually I'm watching the timer and I'm telling them set 1, set 2, doing this, doing that. But kids work at a little bit different pace, but they're still taking the same rest in between. So it's pretty awesome to see them when they do that.
Seems like kids are stepping up and taking that leadership. That's pretty cool. I think that when you see that from your student athletes, that they're going to take control and take that ownership. I really feel like they have bought into that point. And the thing that I see from that, when I see athletes get to that point, they're just going to pull people up with them. They're going to get other people around them better. And that's what gets me excited, when you can get that whole culture rolling in that way. So I'm excited for that class for you.
Yeah, when I can just walk around and correct your technique and help you out with your technique, or just talk to you and see how you're doing today and stuff like that's when I know I got a great class. Kids that really want to be in there and get better. And that's most classes, but allowing me not to be worried about the time or anything like that. And they understand the time and why we're doing it that way, so I can just kind of walk around. They might get tired of me walking around and talking to them all the time or helping them out with their technique, but at least now it allows me to do that. And I think because we're going to have kids in each class that, or before school or after school, that haven't been in there very long or just starting out. Like I say, we have some 9th graders in and before after school. They're going to need some more help than the older kids. So it allows me to do that, or allows Coach Goldenecke to do that when he's in there too. So it's a good deal when that happens.
What are you excited about learning and improving on in this next year as a coach?
I listen to your podcast, which are awesome, and it just makes you think every time I go to a clinic or something. It's like, I got to do that, I got to do that, I got to do that. I got to get this going. And we have it's a bigger school, so we have kids out there in the colleges, and they're in sports and they're doing well. And they come back and they, what's great is, talking about making the big time we're at, they come back and they say, hey, thanks for doing what you do. That's what you're there for. That's what makes your day. When they come back and say, hey, my coach said I'm ahead of everybody else, they use me for demonstrations, or, that's what makes your day when the kids come back and tell you that. But on that hand too, I also want to send out a survey to every kid that's, going to college somewhere doing something and say, hey, what can we do a better job at to prepare you for the college situation, as far as, might be D3, might be NAIA, might be Division I, whatever it is, nutrition. Where can we pick up our game? Where can Coach Volmek and I pick our game up so we can get you better prepared for where you're at?
Do you have those conversations with athletes right now when you come back? Like
when they come back, yeah. Well, I'll ask them, and I'll ask them what they're doing, I pick their brain. I'm a collector of workouts. I'll pick their brain. I'll ask them what they're doing different. It depends on sports too. They're doing different sports. They're probably doing different stuff in college because it's a little more individualized that way. But yeah, my goal is to get a survey out to everyone and have them physically write it down, or send it to me in email. Which would be easiest, I guess. But yeah, just to hear back from all of them, because not all of them can make it back, or you don't see them all. You might see one every 2 years, but you might see one every time a lot of them every time they're home on a break. They want to come in and work out, and it's great to have them back, because then the kids there see these kids that are playing college ball and they're from the same school. And I think it's awesome at whatever level. Even if you're at a really small school, you could get one kid or two kids or three kids, going somewhere to play in, or four kids if they come back, and get them come back. And in the summertime, we've had them come back and talk to our kids about, this is, we kind of pick a topic for them, or they tell us what they want to talk about. And that's our goal next year and throughout the year, but it's hard to get college kids back throughout the year. But next summer is to every day try and find somebody to come in and talk about a certain goal or something they wish they knew in high school, or they want to emphasize that kids should know, or what they should work on, or just that, you need to work to make your dreams come true. And it's awesome to hear those kids talk.
I'm going to steal that idea, both the idea of kind of getting the survey of those student athletes that are coming back, but also the bringing them in for summer workouts. I think that's awesome. I think that's an awesome opportunity to invest in the next group of, high schoolers, and also just like the connecting back with the former athletes. That has to be a fun portion of what you're doing.
Yeah, it is. Just, there's a ton of them out there right now from Waukee. It's a bigger school, so there's going to be a ton. But I mean, I've had some coaches here that I had when I was at Boone that are out there doing, Clint Martin's out there coaching at Texas, and Chad Reinhardt's over at Waverly doing the high school thing, and just some Coach Eastland's, he's in my class. He's at Boone now doing that. And then Coach Dietrich is from Waukee. He's a Waukee grad, and he's down in Houston as a strength coach down there. So it's just, and we've been down, we talked to him a lot, and I talked to Clint, and I talked to Chad a lot, and Charlie, and just pick their brains about what they're doing, and just, sound things off from those guys. So it's great to have those guys out there in the strength and conditioning world too.
I find that's some of my biggest learning things, is having those discussions with people that I was really close with, in my college days. Kind of have this coaching tree now where we'll email back and forth a lot, and the things that we learn and discuss back and forth is experiences that we've had since they were back where we were all together, and those same conversations that used to come up maybe sometimes resurface, and you're just figuring out the best way to do things. So I think being connected like that is awesome for professional development. And one of the things that I was going to ask you is, what are some of your favorite professional development resources?
Anything as far as strength conditioning. I go to a clinic. I love clinics. I just don't have enough time to get away all the time. I got two little girls and my wife, and it's tough to make. I'd love to go to all the clinics. I know the National High School Strength was one on the cruise. I'd love to go on that. It's just finding the time to get out there to do it. It's tough, but I always tell get out there. And my wife always tells me you gotta go do a few things here and there. Mm-hmm. She pushes me. I mean, she's made me teach some classes in the summertime through our Heartland AEA Association for a graduate credit, just on some strength stuff. I teach classes, and she's the one that pushed me to teach them. And every time I teach a class, it's like, man, I learned more than what I was teaching, I'm sure, because I just, so many questions and so many things come up in the class. And like this summer, we got to go out to Johnston here. I took some teachers out to Johnston, and we kind of went through their room and talked to Brian. And I talked to Brian quite a few times, but it's nice to see his room for the second time and kind of talk to him in the room and let the other coaches talk to him a little bit. And we went to a smaller school, Dallas Center Grimes, talked to them. Then I've been to Powerlift probably 15 times. I love it every time I go up there and talk to Connor and Richardson or Tim O'Neill, and just taking the other teachers up there so they can see where this equipment's coming from. Small little place in Jefferson, Iowa. It's a big place in Jefferson, Iowa, I should say. Small town, big place. But just to see how it's built and how they understand how it's really good stuff. But and how they take ideas from the coaches. it's just interesting to see how other coaches program and do their training and all that stuff, and just so many things. Just books, anything Dan John writes. I love sarcasm. I'm pretty sarcastic myself, but I just love his writing because he's pretty sarcastic, But he's got it pretty simple. Pick heavy stuff up, throw stuff, move stuff. Just work. Michael Boyle's a great resource I use a lot. Chris Doyle down at Iowa. Jed Smith at UNI is great. He comes over and teaches some USA weightlifting classes for the last 3 years. He's a great resource. Of myself, Coach Martin at Drake, Coach Paha at Graceland. Coach Martin came over one night. He came to the summer class and talked a little about his programming. Then we went and visited Drake too with the same teachers. And he came over one night. He kind of lives around the area. He just stopped in, and we had a middle school camp going on. He hung out for a good 45 minutes, just helping out, teaching those kids up is awesome. I can't ask much more than a guy to do that. Just hang around at. And he just stopped by to talk real quick because he wanted to kind of see the room that we'd redone, and he hung out for 45 minutes just helping kids out. That's awesome.
A lot of connections. That's kind of another fun part of the profession, right? Just getting out there, being able to talk to so many people, and everybody's so helpful in sharing information and learning it, and then being able to go back and apply that with your student athletes is one more thing. It's just like, man, this is great. I really enjoy what I get to do because of people like that.
Yeah, I'd love to take a field trip every week, once a week, but time doesn't quite work out that way. But that'd be awesome if you could, just every week go somewhere and just kind of observe a group working out.
Yeah, no doubt. There's so much that you could just gain from just watching. That's something that I learned back in college too. Our strength coach would take us to different places, and we just connect, and we would sit down and talk, and just the amount of ideas and things, the way that people do things is different all over the place. And it's like, man, that's a great idea. Let's see if we can apply it. Those type of things stem from that.
Yeah, twice a year we try and get out to, we used to go. We've been down to the University of Iowa quite a few times, and just try and hit some different colleges and just kind of connect and see what they're doing. A lot of some of the stuff college doesn't quite equate to the high school, but you still have the idea of what they're doing and what maybe preparing for that, or talking about what they need, what they see as the need for high school kids coming in.
So we are coming kind of to the end of the show here, and we normally do about 5 questions where I rattle them off and you throw out your answers. And are you ready to answer some quick questions?
Sure.
Awesome. All right. What is your favorite book?
Favorite book? Like I said, anything by Dan John. I do like reading Michael Boyle because he makes you think a lot too, but Dan John's got such good sarcasm in his books that, makes me laugh a lot. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Dan John, Michael Boyle, Joe Kinn.
What is your favorite quote?
Favorite quote would be an old Boyd Epley quote. I don't know if he made it up, but I've always saw it his door. Your work habits determine your future. I've always saw that when I went over to Nebraska in the early days, and he always had that on everything he put out. So it's kind of my favorite quote.
Very good. Who is a person that's influenced you the most?
I would say my family, my parents, grandparents. You wanted something, you had to work for it. We had to work for what we got. So it was a good lesson. We did a lot of hard work back in the days growing up, and tours and stuff like that. And we had some livestock and stuff we always had to take care of, and my grandparents both farmed, so we had to work on that. And I think it taught a lot of life lessons out there with the pitchfork, or carrying water in the cold weather. A lot of people say chop wood, carry water. Well, that's what we did as kids. So I would just say growing up that way was a good lesson.
Very cool. What is your favorite hobby outside of training?
Outside of training, just spending time with my kids. I got two little daughters. One's in first grade, one's in fourth grade, and they're the little one has a lot of energy, and the older one likes to start and get into some sports stuff. So we do a lot of things outside as far as just hanging out and playing. So that's kind of my free time.
This sounds fun. That sounds awesome, Coach. And last question here. Who's a small school coach that's killing it and deserves a shout out?
I got to give a shout out to Coach Eastland, who's at Boone. I was a former student, and Coach Reinhardt, who's at Waverly, who's going to build they have a new facility going up right now. He's kind of the spearhead of that. He's at Waverly Shell Rock. Coach Anderson, I've touched base with him a lot at Rolling Story. He used to be at Roosevelt, now he's at Rolling Story. He works at the college level also as a teacher. Coach Hookster down in Carlisle, Iowa. He's they have a new facility going up also. There's a guy here, Coach Roop. He worked at Waukee for a couple of years. He's now at Adele. Getting him to go over there. Of course, there's Tony Stewart at North Scott and Coach Decker at Waterloo East. As far as college coaches, like I said, Coach Martin, smaller school, Drake, and Coach Paha at Graceland, smaller school yet. So good resources there, I think. There's so many of them around here. There's, Coach Luter, Johnson. And then I got to give a shout out to my gal, Coach Beer. She's at Johnson Middle School doing the weight room stuff over there. There's just so many good coaches around here that'll sit down and talk to you and tell you what they're doing.
That's quite the list, Coach. I'm going to have to write all those names down. After every one of these shows, I always want to get contact information out there for our listeners, for them to reach out to you, get to know you a little bit more, ask some questions maybe from the show. What is the best way to reach you?
Through email. It's just my school email. Twitter's a good way.
We'll have your Twitter and your school email on the show notes so people can reach out to you that way. Coach, I really appreciate you coming on to the show. Awesome to talk to you again. I think what you're doing at Waukee is some pretty cool stuff, some pretty special stuff, making the big time where you're at. Once again, thank you for coming on.
All right. Thanks, Coach Peters. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully it was worth the time. So, we'll see you at the clinic here coming up in, I believe it's December 1st.
Yes, sir. December 1st.
So,
Yep.
All right. Look forward to talking to you then.